Is his name Blackbeard?
Is whose name Blackbeard?
That guy?
The Gold Roger? No. His name is Gold Roger.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Okay. I'm sorry.
This is the intro song to the podcast King of the What Now. Join us as we go on a journey, going to talk about pirates, battle and adventure. We think we're pretty funny, we hope you will too. Luffy, he's gotta be the king of something. We weren't really listening, sorry about that. Hopefully he'll achieve his dreams, yeah.
Hello, fellow Grand Line adventurers. We are here for another episode of King of the What Now. With you, as always, are your hosts, Joel and the newly escaped Curtis.
I'm free!
My god, he's not wearing pants! He has too much power!
This is true freedom.
Alright, fantastic. We just finished episode 8 of the Funimation dub, Who is the Victor? Devil Fruit Power Showdown. And that's it. That's the episode, everyone. Thank you very much.
Bye.
It's on. No. What we're going to do is we're going to recap the episode as always, and it will be a collaborative effort. So, Curtis, what do you remember happening, and why are you an idiot for thinking so?
Well, I think they robbed a bank at one point.
Okay.
They definitely ran down a train.
They had to track down Davy Jones's heart in order to stab it, because otherwise Zoro would have to be the captain of the Davy Jones for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and then
part of the ship, part of the crew.
Yeah, and then they threw that heart down the exhaust port of the Death Star to blow it up.
Right, and then they all had to get transported. I wish I knew Star Trek, because I wanted to continue with something that was obviously not Star Wars. Mm. They lived long and prospered all over Buggy's balls. Buggy's special flashy balls.
Yes.
I promise that we are grown men and we make grown men jokes.
Maybe.
Okay. So we have now wasted a minute of airtime being complete idiots. Disregarding earlier prompts, can you summarize this episode, please?
Yes. Okay, so we started off, we had the fight between... No, wait, no. Yes, that was this episode.
Yeah, what episode? Yeah.
Which one had the flashback? Was that what this
was?
one?
This episode.
Oh, my God. Okay. Okay.
So I see that the IV feed that I had you hooked up to was not, in fact, life-sustaining medicine and was, in fact, drugs.
Yes, it was drugs, and that explains why you have pink, purple elephant ears that are both pink and purple, and I'm going to actually summarize the episode now. Okay, so we have the flashback.
This is Curtis's greatest challenge.
Yes. So, summary. We have the flashback, and we see Buggy and Shanks.
Motherfucking Shanks! Go on.
And they're duking it out on a pirate ship because they're debating the very important question of which is colder, the North or South Pole.
Absolutely.
So anyways, there's a clear rivalry between them, and eventually Shanks and Buggy are talking, and Shanks happens to mention, hey, we have there are these devil fruit out there because they have one on the ship. He says they're a piece of the
devil or the sea devil.
Yes, they're a piece of the sea devil, each one. And if you eat it, you get special abilities, but then you lose your ability to swim. And Buggy's like, well, I need my ability to swim, so that would be stupid for me to eat that. And then Shanks happens to mention, well, it's also probably worth a lot of money. And then that piques Buggy's interest. And so then he goes and he steals it, but then he pretends to eat it in front of the crew so they think it's gone. But he just eats a normal piece of fruit. And he's like, oh, it must have been a fake. See, it didn't do anything for me. Then he's sneaking away, trying to take the fruit with him. And Shanks comes up and surprises him. So he tries to hide the fruit in his mouth.
What could possibly go wrong?
One thing leads to another, and he swallows the fruit and loses his ability to swim and falls into the sea. And Shanks jumps in, and it's implied that he saves him. Flashback to the present. And now Luffy has the backstory on how he knows Shanks, and they keep fighting. And there's fighting. He tries to attack Nami, who's running by with the treasure that she stole from Buggy's crew.
Yes. And because we know that the treasure is the most important thing to Buggy, so even though he's fighting this other pirate, it's more important to get that back than face the Straw Hat bastard in front of him.
Yes. So he splits himself in half, and the top half is going to attack her. And on the other side, Luffy attacks Buggy and kicks him right in his Buggy Balls.
Falcon kick!
Yes.
I think there's a Falcon kick.
Yes.
Anyway, go on.
And in this case, Buggy Balls means his family jewels.
Yes. The attack that I thought for sure was in the last episode was actually this one. I knew he eventually got hit right in the sensitive area.
Yes. They keep fighting. More stuff happens.
Riveting commentary.
Yes. At one point, he splits up into like 100 different pieces, and he's all flying everywhere. And that was the something festival attack.
Yes. I don't remember the actual name. Forgive me.
Anyways, and then he goes to reassemble, but Nami has tied up most of the like his body parts off to the side. So all it is like his head, and then like a little bit of torso, and then like two hands and feet.
And that's it. Yeah, no legs, no arms, basically nothing of the chest.
Yes. So he's very silly looking. And then at that point, Luffy uses a new attack, the Gum Gum Bazooka, which is like the pistol, but with two hands.
Gum Gum Bazooka!
And shoots him out into the sea, where presumably he will drown, and I'm sure we will never see him ever again in the entire series.
Yeah, he's absolutely just a riffraff character. Nobody cares.
Yeah. And then at that point, the citizens of the town come back in. They see the mayor's unconscious, and the town is in ruins, and they're like, who did this? And he's like, well, I knocked the mayor out, Luffy says. And everyone's like, why would you say that? Except for the townspeople who are like, why would you knock out our mayor? He's like, and then they said, hey, were there pirates here? And he's like, oh yeah, we're pirates. And then they run him out of town, and then the dog helps save him from the dog from earlier.
The dog Choo Choo, who Luffy gave the single bag of food for. It's fantastic. The Buggy Arc is only 4 episodes. Go watch it. It's amazing.
Yes. So then they make it down to the port. The mayor wakes up in the meantime, and
he's seriously angry. He's going to go kill those kids himself.
Yes, and he tells that to the people and says, no, you all stay here. I'll go take care of this. And he runs down to the port. Instead of killing them, he just hollers at them as they're sailing away and says, thank you very much. And also, they left half of the treasure back for the town. Luffy did.
Now, when you say they, okay, thank you.
Yeah, Luffy did. Nami was not very happy about that because
she straight up drowns him, or almost.
She quote unquote tries to drown him.
Sure. We all know that drowning was actually secret love messages.
Sure.
Yeah, that was flirting for Nami. That's the first step of her courting ritual. She doesn't tell them that they're pretty. She doesn't dress up in a dress. She doesn't try to get their attention. She just grabs them by the back of the head and just throws them in the ocean.
Yes, and then once they don't die, they're so grateful for not dying that they're just eternally attached.
Yes.
Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so then Zoro makes a statement at the end that says, "Oh, I guess we have our navigator." Which I have a question for you, Joel.
Okay.
What in all of that implies that she's going to be their navigator? They're on 2 different boats out in the ocean, and what I don't understand why they think they're going to continue to sail together.
They fought Buggy together, and
well, yeah, but
there's no such thing in the One Piece world of teaming up with someone and then not becoming best friends with them.
I get that. Just it doesn't make sense in the like.
How smart do you think at this point Zoro and Luffy are together as a unit?
They probably have the combined intelligence of a low-level preschooler, like not the good preschoolers,
not the ones who are ahead of their class drawing inside the lines and all that good stuff.
Yeah, they're over in the corner eating paste.
See, I was going to say they're a well-intentioned dog, like the sort of dog that like knocks over things as it comes running to you, and its tail is hitting things, and it tracks mud all over the carpets. It loves you. It wants to be a good boy, but not that smart. I'd say that's what they are together.
Yeah.
So to Luffy and Zoro, like, of course she's joined. Are you somehow suspicious that she's not a member of their crew because she's on the second ship?
Well, one, they took 2 ships first of all. And, okay, like, you don't need both of the boats. Just take one. And the other thing is because, like, she keeps trying to leave throughout the battle. And, I mean, sure, she keeps coming back. Sometimes it's not for selfish reasons. I guess. I don't know. But I'm still, like, it seems to me like it's implied that, okay, well, we did the thing that we had, or, you know, the one thing
agreement.
And now we're going to split up, and I'm going to take my treasure, as she keeps calling it, and go my separate way. And she even gave him the map, and she kept the treasure. So it's kind of like, you know, there's no group property in this.
You might be onto something. We might cover that. I will say that usually characters have their own arcs. So Zoro's arc, as far as we understand it, is he was tied up and then he was saved by Luffy. That's kind of the end of it. Except if you think about it, there's also hints that maybe there's a man that he's looking for and there's a childhood friend. We don't have answers for those questions, but they're there. And with Nami, yeah, Luffy kind of helped her out, saved her from Buggy, but also, as you keep pointing out, she's very clear about, I hate pirates. I'm collecting treasure for a reason. We don't know what that reason is. She needs 100 million, I think, is her number. And so her plot hasn't really been resolved. And that's kind of interesting that right now Luffy hasn't actually tied up any loose ends. Any loof ends. That's a Luffy loose end right there. So maybe we'll get more about that next episode.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then another question. So this
Yes.
is the second time now that we have had somebody on the dock
Sure.
as they're leaving crying and saying goodbye.
Yeah.
Both times they're wearing round glasses and kind of look similar. So
Is it a time travel situation? Is that what you think?
No,
Can we go into the future and become the mayor
maybe.
or the past, I guess?
So here's my question. How related are Kobe and the mayor, you think?
I would have to say that they're probably second cousins. They've probably been to at least one family reunion together, but they're not that close. Like, I don't know if Kobe would be able to immediately recognize this family member of his.
Okay.
Do you need me to go into a extremely over-elaborate fan fiction describing the relationship between these two? How Kobe's mother and the mayor's father were good friends, or they were brother and sister, and they grew up together, and then they slowly drifted apart, sending letters to each other, but the letters became more and more infrequent until eventually there was an illness in the family, and they had to come together in order to try to raise enough money for their grandpa, who is sick with the One Piece cancer. It's a terrible, terrible disease. There's no known cure for it, and it's caused by pirates. And then, of course, they realized that family really was the most important thing, and just as they had that realization, pirates showed up, and then they both got cancer, and they unfortunately passed away, but they told this story to their children. I just realized that this story has a beginning and it has a middle, but there's no way that there's an end to this. It's just Kobe's mom and the mayor's uncle both died, and that's what's important.
That was excellent.
Thank you.
Have you ever thought about writing stuff?
You know, I've thought about it. Once we get a little bit more Luffy and Nami action, if you know what I'm talking about, I'll start writing that fan fiction. As a really quick side note, I need you to tell me, from what you understand of Luffy, how interested do you think he is in a romantic relationship?
Probably not.
Okay, absolutely.
So far, he has not shown any, and I will confess to having some background knowledge on this.
Absolutely. All right, so fans, as I think I explained the first couple of episodes, I kept reiterating that I have very strong opinions. So what I will say is that I have very strong opinions about if you're going to write fan fiction about the different characters in One Piece, Luffy is asexual as far as I can tell, and you cannot prove to me otherwise. It's okay to ship like Zoro. He seems to maybe potentially be heterosexual, and Nami seems to be she actually doesn't show any interest either. So really, it doesn't matter. I'm going on a long tangent. I think that Luffy does not care about that sort of thing at all.
Yes.
That's all I needed to say. So next up, we usually ask, what did you think of the episode?
So I think I actually liked the last episode a little bit better in terms of the fights.
Okay.
In terms of information that we got, this one was clearly better. I mean, we got a little bit more information on like how Buggy relates to Shanks, so we got a little bit more Shanks time. Just a little bit new tidbit with the dragon fruit, the devil fruit, insofar as that they are pieces of the sea devil. So that's a new concept that we hadn't heard before. So I'm kind of curious how that all fits together and whether or not that matters, because that could be interesting at the end if you find out they're all pieces of the sea devil and maybe he wants them back at some point. You never know. Like, so you could have some cool big plots, like worldwide plots with that.
How presumptuous of you to assume that the sea devil is a he. Don't misgender it. You have to wait until they show up and you have to ask them.
Okay, that's fair. I will use they from now on for the sea devil.
Absolutely. Okay. So the one thing that I think is kind of interesting, you're 8 episodes in the series, you have a little bit of knowledge of stuff that happens in the future. Why do you think Oda, the writer of the show, decided that Buggy and Shanks should be related in any way?
I mean, I think it gives an interesting tie early on. So like it makes Buggy a little bit more relevant to Luffy as opposed to just being a random pirate there.
Okay.
It also makes the world seem a little bit more close-knit, right?
Okay.
Like a lot of the pirates know each other, which might not have been as obvious otherwise,
Sure.
right? And I think, again, from a little bit of knowledge I have, like, I mean, down the road, I don't think they all know each other, but there's definitely like a group of the more powerful ones that I think know each other, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Once you become a certain level of infamous sort of thing, your name becomes known across the world.
Yeah. It gives it a more like, there's a greater sense of interconnectedness as a result, right?
Okay. Sure.
So
now, this isn't exactly related to One Piece content, so I'm sorry that if you really like One Piece, but you don't like the Spider-Man is what I'm going to start talking about. But, you know, in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, everyone was connected to Peter Parker, right? The villain from the first movie, the villain from the second movie, they were all directly related to Spider-Man's alternate personality. Mm-hmm. Some people have complained that that's kind of dumb. Like, what are the chances that literally every bad guy is connected to you? So I think it's cool that Buggy is related to Luffy through Shanks, but if the next, like, 3 guys also happen to know Shanks, like, either Shanks is some kind of weird Doctor Who character who just happens to show up and everyone knows him, or Oda's just being lazy. I think it's okay for one character to have that connection, but you don't want to overdo it.
Yeah, because otherwise, then you would have to have like a much smaller world, right? Like there are only like so many pirates. If they all know Shanks, then there are only so many pirates out there, right?
Sure, exactly. Okay, so next we got to move on to some other questions. What do you think will happen in the next episode? We really didn't get any kind of like...
I know, there's like, there's a little bit of foreshadowing. It's at the end, we get a silhouette of a man with a long nose.
Which, I mean, I wonder about that. So if you watch the opening, you might recognize the character, and if you see the title of the next episode, it reveals that the title is just called, like, He Appears Usopp or something like that. But I think it's really weird that they would kind of tease you with that, because if you don't know who that is, there's really no reason to show it. Really what that is... Did you read the manga? Here's something that might whet your appetite. But if you've already read the manga, you already know that he's going to show up next. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a really weird 2-second still frame of someone.
So, okay, here's what I think is going to happen in the next episode, all right?
Okay.
So they get to a new island. They get off their boats, and they head to the nearest bar/restaurant. And
seems like something that Luffy would do.
Yes. Inside, we see Usopping up a mess on the floor. See what I did there?
Yes. Your pun game is on point as always.
Thank you. And then they just kind of like hanging out, right? And then, I really only wanted to make that pun, and I'm not sure where this is going to go from now on.
You started a fanfic that you weren't man enough to finish. We've both made a great mistake here.
No, I'm going to roll with it now, damn it. So he's cleaning the floor, and he's really cleaning that floor. It was a dirty, dirty floor, and now it's a clean floor.
Wait, no, I think I see where you're going with it. The floor is Usopp's treasure. And Luffy strongly identifies with people who strongly defend their treasure. So he sees this man, he goes, he's really cleaning that floor. That's awesome.
Yes.
And so when the bad guy shows up and tracks dirt on the floor, Luffy just decks him.
Yeah. So he takes him out, right? He's like, hey, I want you to join my crew. And Usopp goes, I could never leave this floor behind. It's too important to me. He's like, here's what we'll do. We're going to take this floor. We're going to go put it on a ship. And then you can keep the ship floor clean all at the same time. And you can go wherever the ship goes.
And that's how Zoro is relevant, because he uses his swords to cut up the floor.
Yes.
And he takes it. Okay, perfect. We've now figured out the next thing that will happen in the series. Fantastic. And of course... Oh, no, I was about to say there would be no fighting in that case, but there's the person who got dirt on the floor that Luffy gets to punch out.
Oh, yeah, no.
So in that case, there's some conflict.
He gets beat up.
Okay. And it turns out that they're actually related to the mysterious men that Zoro is looking for, because everything's connected.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that this episode of Luffy defeating Buggy was filler, having previously established that Buggy as a character is not filler?
Probably. I'm sure what happened in the manga is that they were like, all right, we're in the middle of this fight. And then the next chapter comes out, and they're just sailing away.
They're just sailing away, and they're like, man, good thing we took care of Buggy through unknown means.
Yep.
So I will say this, that's kind of interesting. Do you think that Luffy could have beaten Buggy in a one-on-one fight, since Nami was helping out so much?
That's a good question. I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Maybe not right now.
You think that maybe Luffy's attacks will get better or something?
Yeah. I mean, it's an anime.
Sure, yeah. What do you think Luffy's... You know what? I'm not even going to ask that question. We'll get to it later. Now that we've seen Luffy defeat Buggy, and we've seen Luffy defeat Morgan, who's the bigger villain in your eyes? Who's the scarier threat? On their own, not Morgan and the Marines, Buggy and his pirate crew, just as individuals.
I think Morgan was still scarier.
Okay.
Buggy... I mean, I guess he collected that crew, so he must have, like, some abilities, right? But he still comes across as a bit... of a like almost a child. that was given weapons.
Sure. Yeah, he waffles. Morgan exudes authority and power and confidence. And whether he's earned that confidence or not, Luffy took him out pretty quickly. But he seemed like a big guy. He seemed strong. He's got the impressive axe. But Buggy would switch between completely leaving himself vulnerable and assuming that Luffy wouldn't be able to figure out that you could, punch him in the balls. And then he would switch between being kind of stupid and then being kind of competent.
Yeah. I will say that's all based off of like their personalities. I think if you, I guess if you factor in their actual fighting abilities, Buggy is scarier because
Buggy's harder to defeat. Sure.
Yeah. But then again, he's also the next one down the line, right? So in traditional shonen anime fashion, each fight's going to be a little bit harder than the last one.
Okay. When we meet another villain down the line and they seem really strong, how would you like to gauge their power? How many Morgans can they defeat in a fight, or how many Buggies can they defeat in a fight?
Buggies.
Okay,
how many? It's funner to say.
Okay, how many Buggies can they defeat, and how many flashy Buggy bomb balls can they take directly to the face before they pass out?
No, the more we can incorporate the word Buggy Ball into this podcast, the better. So I think that we need to go with Buggy. We can occasionally use Morgan because Morgan's also kind of a cool name.
Sure.
But Buggy's just...
Maybe every time we meet a pirate, the ranking is how many Buggies can they fight, because they would obviously fight Buggy as a enemy rival pirate. But if you meet someone in the Marines or the Navy, I'm calling them the Marines, how many Morgans could they defeat in a fight would be the appropriate question.
So here's what we're going to end up with. So much like real life, we'll have two different measurement systems. We'll have the naval measurement system.
Sure.
And we'll have the periarchal,
Pirate. I just call it... Are you looking for an adjective? Pirate is the adjective already.
I guess so.
Okay.
No, you're right. The piracy. No, you're right. Okay, we'll go with it. The pirate measurement system. Like they'll be like the empirical and the metric, right?
Absolutely.
So we'll measure it, and then the smallest units in both of those will be the Buggy and the Morgan.
Now, I believe that I mentioned in an earlier episode of our podcast that Luffy is stated to not believe in killing his opponents. If I didn't state that before, I'm stating it now, that Oda has off the books, not in the actual canon of the universe, stated that Luffy doesn't believe in killing. But he did, as you said, knock Buggy out of the island towards the ocean, a known devil fruit user. Does Luffy now have blood on his hands?
Yeah, because he should know better, because he knows that devil fruit users can't swim, right? Because he himself is a devil fruit user. Is that the correct term? Sorry, that's probably discussed.
Devil fruit user is the term that they use in the show.
Okay. So he should know. And then he shot him out over the water. That's a death sentence.
I think there's a bit of anime logic in there. I think that if you asked Oda, he would say that maybe Luffy didn't know whether Buggy was going to live or die, but he didn't directly do something that he knew would cause Buggy's death. I think it's silly. I also think that there are later episodes where you think to yourself, there's no way that Luffy hit them that hard and expected them to survive, sort of thing. But for now, Buggy is presumed dead, and Luffy definitely should have been able to figure out that he was essentially pulling the trigger on that gun. We've run out of questions for me to ask. We didn't get introduced to any new characters, and I already asked you last episode, who's best boy, who's best girl. Who's your current, out of every character we've met so far, your favorite?
Zoro.
Zoro's still your favorite.
Zoro.
He has a lot of great moments. I'm not going to argue with that. Once we start getting a larger roster, I think it'll be harder to say that every single badass moment always goes to Zoro. But this fight wasn't amazing for Luffy. It was kind of cool to see him and Nami teaming up, but he didn't do anything on his own that was really that spectacular.
I mean, I guess also Zoro spent a good chunk of the fight sleeping, so...
Okay, that's fair.
But I have a soft spot for him. So we'll just wait as the series progresses. Maybe Zoro might move down. I doubt it.
What if Zoro stays just as awesome, but then we meet someone who's just more awesome? That's entirely possible. You can see Curtis's world slowly shattering inside of his mind behind his eyes.
That might make my head explode.
Okay. So I just have to make sure to avert your eyes right before anyone else does anything cooler than Zoro so that I don't lose my co-host.
No, Curtis, don't look. Oh, damn it.
The man dressed as an elephant is clearly doing the coolest flip you'll ever see on screen. No! All right, any final thoughts? Wait, no, I thought of another question before I ask for final thoughts. I'm sorry. We're now 8 episodes in. we've now met 3 characters who are in the opening sequence, featured predominantly. So I'd say that we've met a fair number of characters. Would you say that this is enough to get someone hooked on the story of One Piece? Or do you think that it could improve if it wanted to? Do you think that if it stayed at the current quality level, it would be as popular as it is today? Or do you think that it gets better?
I think it gets better.
Okay.
I think right now it's kind of standard.
Sure.
It's like, I mean, it's above some animes I've seen that are also popular.
Okay.
But I'd say it's not, 600 episodes worthy yet.
Okay, sure. If you had someone come over and you're going to hang out and they really wanted to like watch something, you wouldn't at this point in time say, we gotta watch One Piece. The first 8 episodes are amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
I will say the information in there is important, but
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, I guess it's just like, any sort of setup. You got to get through the setup, but the setup in this case is long.
Yes.
It seems.
They really want you to know that Luffy's has important. They want you to know about the power of friendship and stuff, and you can't have characters acting on the assumptions that the hat is important and that pirates are cool until you've seen them do cool and amazing things. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask you if you have any final thoughts.
Well, I'm curious how much more Zoro will sleep.
Okay.
And then in the next episode, I think he's probably about like at 30% of the last arc. So
You mean that he slept for a total of 30% of the arc?
I think so.
Okay.
That's a rough estimate.
Fair. I'm used to gauging characters on power levels. I thought you were saying that Zoro had used up all of his strength and he recovered about 30% of it. I was going to call you out on your math because I have no idea how you came up with that number off the top of your head. I now understand what you're saying. We're on the same wave. No, that didn't work at all. But anyways, I think that just about wraps it up for us. All right, that about does it for everyone, or that about does it for us, everyone. Please have a great day, and hopefully next time I won't spill my words out in such an awkward way. Have a great day. All right, folks, we've reached the end of this episode for today. It's sad to see you go, but fortunately we'll be here next week unless we get hit by a meteor. In the meantime, you can follow us on all sorts of different social media. We have Gmail, Patreon, Tumblr, all of those are King of the What Pod, so patreon.com/kingofthewhatpod, kingofthewhatpod@gmail.com, kingofthewhatpod.tumblr.com. That's all great. If you want to follow us on Twitter, that name's a little different. They restrict the length of your handles. So you can follow us on Twitter at Kotwin_pod. That's KOTWN_pod. Just take the name of the podcast and abbreviate it.
Also, please take a moment to rate and review our podcast on whatever platform you're using to listen. That can be iTunes, Spotify, or whatever. Not only will this help others find the podcast, but your constructive feedback will help us improve the show as we go. We hope to grow and improve just like the Straw Hat Crew.
Thanks again for listening in. Be sure to check the feed next week for the latest episode of King of the What Now. Until then, follow your dreams and protect your treasure.
Remember, that doesn't need to be literal treasure.